maybe they'll get rid of Khomeini, maybe they'll rid of some bad ayatollahs, and they'll negotiate a deal with Trump, which looks very much like the Venezuelan deal, which is, the regime more or less survives, but it doesn't threaten its neighbors anymore, and it gives the United States a premium on its oil, which is an extraordinary strategic achievement for Mr. Trump because almost all of Iranian oil is sold to China, along with Venezuelan oils. It gives the United States basically a stranglehold over oil supplies to China. Wow. And part of the deal is that Iran will not support Hezbollah anymore. Iran will not support Hamas anymore. Yeah, they're going to try to cheat their way out of everything because that's where they are. And they're going to have to give up their nuclear program. That's the deal. There's no other deal other than that. And the great leverage that Trump has over the regime is not military intervention, it's sanctions. The sanctions aren't going anywhere. That's what's killing them, is the sanctions. That's what's bringing the people out of the street, is the sanctions.
According to Ambassador Michael Oren, an astute observer of the Middle East, what he just described is the only possible negotiated solution to the current crisis with Iran. Predicting is a high-risk endeavor in the Middle East, but what he just offered may be quite prophetic tea leaf reading. We'll see. In addition to Iran, Michael Oren offers some emphatic predictions regarding Qatar, which has played an openly duplicitous game for decades, openly supporting global terror. Qatar is Iran's main ally in the region, while at the same time pretending to be a steadfast ally of America's. This brazen lie came to a head last week when multiple reports stated that Qatar had told President Trump that he is forbidden from launching any military attack on Iran from its airbase in Qatar. The audacity of this nation of 300,000 dictating to America how it may operate, while Qatar is totally dependent on the American military presence for its own security. Well, that faux pas may be Qatar's undoing, not to mention the brewing scandal around Steve Witkoff and his interactions with Qataris. We'll get to all of that soon. Michael Oren, former Israeli ambassador to the United States, historian, prolific writer and public speaker, and a great guy, spoke with the State of Tel Aviv and beyond on Wednesday. We focused on Iran and the interests of key Middle East nations in either seeing the Islamic regime fall or remain. Since our conversation, there have been numerous reports, unverified, that the regime may have backtracked on its commitment to refrain from executing any protesters arrested in recent weeks. Over the weekend, whoever runs the social media accounts of the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, was busy churning out insults and threats directed at President Trump. One thing was made clear, that the regime will do what it bloody well wants, no matter what the criminal Trump, as they brand him, wants or thinks. A quick note on sources. Before relying on any facts reported here, we verify with multiple sources, but bear in mind that the environment is volatile, to say the least. We are doing our utmost to work with our extensive contact network to confirm before posting anything. And if it can't be confirmed, we'll tell you, as we just did. Mainstream media, for the most part, they've totally rendered themselves irrelevant. They're not even trying. And shame on them. The regime intends to block all internet access for Iranians going forward. That's the best information we have at this time. Totally cut the people off from the world. We have seen video of heavily armed military forces, likely including the IRGC, and these videos are getting out to the world using the very limited and shrinking Starlink capabilities that remain in Iran. People are staying in their homes. They're terrified to venture out into the streets, and do so only if they are trying to locate the body of a murdered relative or desperately need some sort of supplies. Women are giving birth indoors in their homes with no medical assistance. Makeshift morgues are overflowing. Bodies are stacked up in fridge containers and hospitals. Regime forces are reportedly entering hospitals to arrest the wounded and take them off to prison. We will continue to provide updates on developments related to Iran. But today, with Ambassador Michael Oren, we focus on the historical interests of key Middle Eastern countries and how they may influence this pivotal moment. We meander a bit and include a discussion about the strong ties historically for more than 2,500 years between Jews and Persians, an extraordinary fact of which too many are unaware. Throughout this latest crisis, Israel has supported and done everything possible to offer hope to the people of Iran. And the Iranian people, they're paying attention. They know who their friends are and are not. Just last week, President Trump stated that the regime announcement that it would not execute protesters, that statement went a long way to cause him to rethink what we all thought might be an imminent military attack on Iran. He called it off. And in recent days, the Supreme Leader's Twitter account has been spewing a torrent of hardline rhetoric, mocking Trump as a criminal and spineless leader. This ongoing provocation does not augur well for the Islamic Republic of Iran. And here's an interesting wrinkle. President Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, has come under intense scrutiny in the last few days. Multiple reports attribute him as having been the source of the information that the executions in Iran were being called off. Apparently, he was given this assurance by Qatari leadership, which Witkoff is alleged to have accepted unquestioningly and passed on to the president. If true, and if proven, this will land a lethal blow to the credibility of Mr. Witkoff. The heat is on. Who gave the president the assurance that executions were called off? And where did they get that information? Okay, that's a pretty thorough rundown of the major issues to this point. Brief reminder to our subscribers, all of you, we are making an excerpt of this podcast available to all. If you wish to listen to the complete discussion, please consider becoming a premium subscriber today. I'm Vivian Berkovich, former Canadian ambassador to Israel. Let's do this. Wednesday, January 14th, just after 5 p.m. in Israel. It's a pleasure and honor to welcome Michael Oren to the podcast today, former Israeli ambassador to the United States, and also the founder of the Israel Advocacy Group, which was established on October 8th. Michael, thank you so much for making the time to speak to State of Tel Aviv and beyond.
And always good to be with you, Vivian. Always an honor.
An honor and a pleasure, I might add. Having said that, these days, it's just kind of a lot and overwhelming, and you're going to help us unpack it all and make some order of whatever this moment is that we find ourselves in. So what is happening in the Middle East, Michael, from an historical perspective? Give it structure. Give it definition if you can.
In a word, everything. Everything. If you would have told me on October 6th, 2023, that the Middle East would look like this in mid-January 2026, I would have said you are certifiably insane. But then again, if you were to have told me on May 14th, 1948, that Israel and the Middle East would look like this, I would say you're truly insane. And when I moved to Israel, I started coming to Israel in 1970. That's how old I am.
It's just a few years before me. That's not a big deal.
This is before the Yom Kippur War. This is certainly before peace with Egypt, certainly before peace with Jordan. If you had told me then that someday we'd have peace with these two countries, I would have said you're insane. If someday you told me that we would have peace with the 4 signatories to the Abraham Accord countries, that there would be the possibility of peace with additional countries, I would say, surely you're out of your mind, to say nothing about relations between Israel and India, which when I moved to Israel was a hostile country. Relations between Israel and China, which are still very complex, but we have relations with China. We had none whatsoever back then. We had no relations with the Soviet bloc, which was Russia plus 12 satellite countries. Some of them are our best friends in the world today. No relations with Africa. Most of the African countries cut off relations with Israel after the 1974 Arab oil embargo. Talk about isolations. Very few relations with South American countries, Central American countries. We had a friendly relationship with the United States, but not a strategic alliance with the United States. Very different. So it would have been impossible to conceive of where we are today. Certainly not 77 years ago, not 50 years ago, and not 2.5 years ago. That's where we are. And where we are today is we are now in negotiations with Lebanon, face-to-face. Negotiations with Syria, face-to-face. Not quite peace yet, but face-to-face negotiations. And certainly not a situation of belligerency. We are in contact with several other Gulf countries. There's a possibility of the Sunni world joining the Abraham Accords, Indonesia, perhaps even Malaysia, perhaps even Pakistan. And above all, the transformation which we see now unfolding in Iran, where we don't know where it's going. We don't know how far it's going to go. But one thing is certain, that the Iran that existed on October 6, 2023 is gone from the world and is not coming back. Now, that is extraordinary.
Well, let me just sort of, inject a moment of prophecy to this very serious discussion.
I expect nothing less from you.
On October 6th, believe it or not, and even before October 6th, I had some very heated exchanges with a very good friend who is an editor at a very high level in the States. What I proposed at that time was that a decade from now, Tehran could very well be the next Tel Aviv for a number of reasons. So it looks like I may actually be clairvoyant, but I won't push it. I'm not shocked that the Islamic Republic of Iran, that the regime is teetering, because it's really been teetering for some time. And now we find ourselves in this very volatile moment. The question is, and the question that everyone is asking, is this the moment? Is this the moment that the regime will fall? You have a good perspective on previous revolutions and uprisings, and if you could possibly address that. But I'd also like you to speak to this issue. You talked about this kind of momentum over decades. It's ebbed and flowed, but this momentum since the 60s, really, we've been more and less isolated in Israel, and no one would have dreamed that in 2026 we would be in the position that you just sort of outlined, with peace treaties with a number of countries in the region, but also in negotiations with many others, not to mention Africa and South America. But this moment with Iran, it strikes me that so much teeters. I mean, we really are balancing on a very sharp point. And if it goes one way, it will be very beneficial to Israel going forward, and I suggest the West. If it goes the other way, it will be more than calamitous.
Explain to me what you mean with the other way and calamitous. Let me hear the scenario.
Thanks to all State of Tel Aviv and Beyond subscribers. If you would like to continue listening to this podcast, then please go to our website, stateoftelaviv.com, and subscribe. The premium content that follows is available for paying subscribers only. We appreciate your support. Thanks for being here. We love hearing from you. So please comment on our website, stateoftelaviv.com, or send us a note to vivian@stateoftelaviv.com. That's VIVIAN @stateoftelaviv.com. And if you go to our website, stateoftelaviv.com, you can find the subscribe button and take it from there. Hope that you do that. On behalf of the State of Tel Aviv core team, Jan Zabo, our creative, graphic, visual, and marketing man, Amir White, producer and editor extraordinaire, sound guy, who is also impressively patient with me and my boomer tech deficiencies, and our social media manager who pitches in on everything. Thank you, Maya Naftalin. Thanks to the team, and thank you, listeners, for being here. Until next time, stay safe.